Hey, this is Adam with the Adam Wines Guitar Academy, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the second part of the intro to Ride the Lightning. This is also could be considered the main riff with a transition before the first verse. But anyway, let's get right into it. So let's talk about the mechanics of the first riff we're going to be playing. Let's talk about the picking and the fretting and the palm muting. So the first thing we need to do is to play a power chord at the 5th fret. And that will simply be done by putting your index finger on the 5th fret of the low E string. And then you can put your ring finger on the 7th fret of the A string or your pinky, either one. You'll actually notice that I use both from time to time. So whatever feels comfortable to you there. So first thing we're going to play is this power chord right here. Now when you're picking, you need to pick both the E string and the A string together at the same time. So you may need to practice that for a second. It can be tricky because it's very easy to only hit like the E string or to hit too many strings. So you might find yourself only doing this or doing something like this on accident. So you have to really take your time and really kind of hone in on this particular skill until you don't have to think about it. So when you're doing this, just really look at your picking hand and really make sure you're hitting both strings simultaneously. And be careful not to hit other strings. Another little kind of trick you can do with your ring finger, if you kind of angle it slightly, you can get it to essentially mute the other strings. And that can help in case your picking is a little aggressive or something like that and you accidentally hit some extra strings. Okay, so once we've played that, there's going to be a bit of a slide from the 5th fret to the 6th fret, and both fingers are going to slide over. So 5 is going to go to 6 and 7 is going to go to 8. And when you do this, you're going to pick and you're going to slide your hand over like this. Again, be careful with the picking. Make sure you're hitting only those two strings. And we're just sliding our hand right over. Okay, so once that's done, we're going to do some palm muting. That is where you take this part of your palm and maybe a little bit of this, and you rest it on the guitar. For rhythm guitar, I like to get it kind of closer to the bridge pickup. That's usually your pickup closer to the bottom of your guitar. On most electric guitars. You can experiment, but I think you'll find that this is the best placement for heavy chugging like this. So after the little slide, we're going to do 2 palm mutes on that low E string. Nice and heavy sounding. We don't want this. That would be open, so we want. You can experiment with the pressure of your palm too. Sometimes, you can get too much pressure. In my opinion, that's too much. So you want to experiment so you get that, that nice amount of pressure from your palm to get that sound you want. Okay, so far we have that 5 sliding to the 6 and the 2 palm mutes. Okay, now once that's done, you're going to do the slide again and then 4 palm mutes. Okay, so let's put that together. 5 to 6 with a power chord, 2 palm mutes, slide again, 4 palm mutes. Okay, and that is basically the riff. This riff gets repeated a bunch, so it actually gets repeated, I think it's 12 times. Yep, it is 12 times. You could also think of that as sets of 4 3 times. I find that kind of helpful. So basically I think of playing the riff 4 times and then I do it that whole sequence 3 times altogether. I find that a little easier than trying to count to 12. You'll also kind of feel it as well. So obviously take your time with this riff. Go nice and slow. Focus on the fretting hand. Make sure you have enough pressure. Make sure it comes out clear. Make sure you're picking the correct strings. And not picking too many strings, etc. Just practice the slide a bunch if you need to. And then start to put it together. Like that. Okay, so as we mentioned, this riff gets played 12 times or 3 sets of 4. So that kind of sounds like this. And so forth. I'm not going to play it all 12 times. So that's kind of up to tempo. really take your time. Go nice and slow. Start to speed it up. Okay, rhythmically speaking, with metal, I usually just feel it. I can explain it to you in music theory terms, but sometimes that might confuse you more than help you, but I'll still talk about it. So basically the 5 to the 6, I see it as 16th notes, and then I see 2 8th notes on those 2 palm mutes. So in other words, 16th note here, and then 2 palm mutes. If I were to count that, it would be 1 E and 2, like that. 1 E and 2. So the 5 to the 6, followed by the low palm mute. I see that as the first beat myself, like that. And then the next palm mute I see as being on the beginning of the second beat. And the song is in 4/4, so 4 beats per measure, which is the most common time signature in music. Now, the next slide is on the second part of beat 2, which is a little strange, a little confusing if you think too hard about it. So after you hit that low E palm mute there for beat 2, it is going to be, the next slide is on the and. So if you were to count this, it would be 2 and. A little trick though, if you do want to count, if you count 2E on the low palm mute, that kind of helps you feel the subdivision. So on beat 2, it would be, if you were to count it, it'd be 2E and. So on the E of 2, I didn't actually play anything. I was just counting it to feel the subdivision of 16th notes. So far, 1E and same thing here. You can actually count the subdivision there. So in other words, 1E and though I'm not playing anything on the So 1E and 2E and So you may find that more confusing than helpful, but if it helps you, feel free to think about it. But it is fun to talk about. Then the last palm mutes are just 8th notes. So that's pretty easy. It's just 3 and 4 and. So 3 and 4 and, like that. So if we were to count this nice and slow, it would be 1E and 2E and 3 and 4 and. You might find it easier to count the subdivision though. So if we were to do that, it would sound like this: 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and. So that takes a lot of practice to do that when you're counting the subdivision, but you're not playing everything on the subdivision, but it can be helpful. So once again, 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and if that helps. Okay. Now, music theory-wise, this is pretty interesting. It is based on the low E pedal, like the low palm mute. So the tonal center is E, but it is then going to an A power chord right here. That's an A note. That's an E note. That makes a power chord. That's an interval of a fifth. A to E is a fifth. A, B, C, D, E. That's why we call that a fifth. We call it a power chord when you play the 2 notes together. So that's an A5 is a technical name for that chord. And then it's sliding into a chromatic note. It's sliding into the 6th fret, or I like to think of this as B flat right here. So it's going from A5 to B flat 5. The notes here on the B flat 5 are B flat and F. So you could also think of this as an A sharp power chord, but I like to think of it as B flat, so that way we're not dealing with an E sharp. Because if we were to think of this as A sharp, this would be A sharp, also known as B flat. And this would be E sharp, also known as F. So I think it's cleaner to think of it as a B flat 5. Now, why this riff sounds so heavy is a B flat is a tritone away from E. And tritone, that's an interval, it's a musical interval, and it's extremely heavy and extremely metal sounding. Just to show you the interval of a tritone, so like if I were to play the E over here, for example, that's the B flat there. That's what a tritone normally looks like on the guitar. Play this shape anywhere. It's almost like a power chord, but 1 fret down from the ring finger. So normally you'd have a power chord like that, but you put that finger there instead. When you play it together, it sounds even heavier, that interval of that tritone. It's very, very interesting musical interval. And that's why the riff sounds so heavy. So it's really based on that low E, but it hits that tritone. That A slides into the tritone, which gives it that tension, and that's why the riff sounds heavy. Along with the palm muting, too. I think the palm muting contributes quite a bit to why this riff sounds so heavy. So anyway, that riff gets played 12 times or 3 sets of 4, however you want to think about that. After that, we go into basically what I call the transition riff before the first verse. And this is basically a bunch of power chords. The first power chord is an F sharp 5. It's a fret 2 on the low E, fret 4 on the A string, like that. And I actually use the pinky down here for this particular instance. For it just feels more comfortable to me in this instance. So anyway, we have this F sharp 5, and then it goes to E5, which is simply the low E string open and the second fret on the A string. That's the second chord. Nothing's palm muted here. It's all open. Goes back to the F sharp 5, the F sharp 5 power chord. Goes back. Now it goes to an A5 power chord. That's the open A string, and then the second fret on the D string. And then it comes back to F sharp, and then it goes to C5, which is fret 3 on the A string, and fret 5 on the D string. So this riff is going to be power chord at 2 on the low E, open E5, power chord again on 2 on the low E, A5 or open A string with that second fret on the D, back to the second fret 6th string power chord, to the third fret 5th string or A string power chord. And note-wise, it's F sharp 5, E5, F sharp 5, A5, F sharp 5, C5. Okay. If you want to know what the notes are, F sharp and C sharp. Low E on the open E string. B where the index finger is, second fret A. F sharp again. A5, that's going to be the low A string. And then the E note there, second fret on the 4th string. That's our A5, goes back to F sharp 5. And then C5. It's a C right there on the low A string and a G right there with the pinky there on the D string. So those are the notes that are getting played. Now, rhythm-wise, it's basically 2 quarter notes. So quarter note, or 1, 2, and then beat 3 is going to be F sharp going to the A5 and 8th note. So that'll be 3 and. So twice as fast. 3 and. Like that, 3 and then the last bit there is also 8th notes. So this is the 4 and. It's going to be F sharp to the C. So that'll be 4 and. So if we were to count out loud this riff, it's 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. And I lied about the palm muting. I think that it sounds good to palm mute on beat 3 and beat 4, the F sharp. In other words, don't palm mute here. Don't palm mute there. Palm mute here on this F sharp. Just a slight palm mute going to the A5 there. Don't palm mute on the A5. Back to the F sharp 5 and do a little slight palm mute. And then the C5. So I think that sounds better. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and so forth. And this riff is going to be played 4 times, essentially. And the 4th time is a little different, and we will come to that in 1 second. But first, I want to talk about the music theory behind the riff first. So we have basically gone from the E tonal center to an F sharp tonal center temporarily. So that's why it keeps coming back to that F sharp chord. What's really interesting here is we have another tritone happening between the F sharp and the C. It ends on the C before the riff starts over. So F sharp to C, we have that tritone again. That same shape, that really heavy, very interesting interval. So very fascinating, very cool. That's why this riff and this song is so heavy. Okay, so back to the riff. Practice it nice and slow when you're doing it. Focus on the picking. Make sure you're hitting both strings, not hitting too many strings. Make sure your hand is fretting the right notes and all that good stuff. Okay, so now when we come to the fourth time, it's very similar. It's going to be F sharp going to E, and then it's going to do the F sharp to the A, the F sharp to the C. So it's really the same so far, but what happens is it comes back to the F sharp very abruptly with like a little bit of a rest afterwards. So you hit the F sharp and then you use your palm, like your palm muting, to stop the sound real quick and let the pressure of the frets go just a little bit. You don't have to come all the way off or anything, but just let that pressure go. So in other words, so you hit the note, quickly palm mute, and let the pressure go. That gives it that nice cool stopping sound. Then we're going to jump all the way to the 8th fret on the low E string, which is actually a C5 as well, and then to the 7th fret here, which is a B. So it's 2 power chords. It's a C5 to a B5. We could also play this up here, the C5 and the B5. We could play it on fret 3 and fret 2. But I like to play it over here because we're immediately going to go back into the verse. So I think it's easier to go like this and to get back to the verse personally. But you could, certainly go. I just think that's a little awkward feeling personally. So I'd rather go up here and do it and so forth. So, and music theory wise, the C and the B, it's really just a turnaround back to the verse. That's really all that's happening there. It's nothing too crazy. So, just a little bit of a nice transition back to that verse. So the transition riff here, remember, nice and slow. It's going to get played 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then that 4th time, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and F sharp with that quick, cut off there, and then C, D, and then it goes back into the verse. So take your time with that. I hope you have a lot of fun with this. This is an awesome song. I love this song. I love Metallica in general. Yeah, it's very heavy, and it's still in standard tuning. Kind of a rare thing for a heavy song to be in standard tuning, so that's really fun. Once again, my name is Adam, and I am available for private Zoom lessons. If you're interested, feel free to contact me, and my contact details are in the description.